What's up, YouTube? My name is Terrence, and this is Comicbreak 98, where I'm going to break down your favorite Marvel and DC storylines for all of you guys' viewing pleasure. And if you guys have been following me, we are currently covering Jim Starlin's The Infinity Gauntlet, and we are now on issue number 3, Preparations for War. And this is actually going to be a really special episode, guys, because this will be the first time we actually see all of the superheroes, the Avengers, Spider-Man, X-Men, and a few more Earth superheroes really coming together for the first time to make their move against Thanos with the Infinity Gauntlet. So there's been a lot of build-up from this point, in the other issues, and really coming to this moment. And, it's going to get a way more high pace and a lot more action-packed. So, yeah, I hope you guys are ready for that. And let's get to it. Also, just so you know, guys, I have seen Infinity War, and as I'm recording this video right now, my spoiler video is up. So if I make any references to Infinity War, it's about that time you guys have seen it. But, okay, let's go. So when we start issue number 3, Preparations for War, the story picks up back at the Shrine of Mishra's Death, where we see Thanos and Mephisto really just discussing the things that Thanos had to do to acquire the 6 Infinity Stones. And we see, like, Mephisto is just saying that the beings that inhabited the worlds that Thanos had to, basically salvage to find the stones, they would probably have some other say. They probably wouldn't want to be a part of Thanos' plans to slaughter half of the life in the entire universe. And we'll get more into that when we cover Thanos' quest. But as they're talking about this, Thanos is still, like, using the Infinity Gauntlet on Eros, and he's like he literally looks like crumpled up paper. But Thanos basically replies to Mephisto, and he tells him that their views matter not to him. So Jim Starlin is telling us that whenever Thanos is going through and just trying to acquire the Infinity Gems and killing whoever stands in his way, that he has no remorse. He's probably having a good time doing it, and we see that as in every other issue that we covered earlier. Mishra's Death is like curving Thanos. He's not going, and we just see Thanos really just trying to ponder to himself, what will it take to win Mishra's Death's heart? And we just see him at a really, really thirsty point in his life. He needs to call up Blade and just see how Blade keeps his thirst under control, because Thanos, it's not working for you, man. But from this point, the story brings us back to that space helicarrier, where we see Nick Fury still trying to assess the damage of what Thanos had done when he released that psychic blast into the universe. And what we see is that a Professor Harding from S.H.I.E.L.D.'s Geosciences division, he actually has some really bad news to tell Nick Fury. And we see him running to the offices trying to reach him. And when he finally does, he tells Nick Fury that that blast that Thanos had released into the universe, it had actually derailed the Earth from its orbit, and because of this, it was slowly drifting away from the sun and resulting in the Earth approaching a never-ending ice age. So Earth is basically done for. And while we're on this subject, I asked you guys in issue number 2, From Bad to Worse, which if you guys haven't watched that yet, make sure you watch it so you can catch up. But I'd asked you guys, did Thanos start the Kree Skrull War? And I haven't gotten an answer for if he has in the comic books. I'll have to research that some more. But this could be the perfect way for them to start the secret invasion in the MCU. Let's say that at the end of Infinity War, you guys know when Thanos has snapped his fingers and deleted half of the life, that it hit, Skrull and Kree lives as well, as which it probably would, as it expands the whole universe. But they can blame each other just like they did in Jim Starlin's work right here. And they can blame the Avengers too, because it kind of is their fault, because they were the ones to try to stop Thanos, and Vision having the Mind Stone, Doctor Strange having the Time Stone. They lost it, so they're kind of at fault for Thanos being able to do this. They can just go ahead and start replacing Avengers and other superheroes with Skrull copies, and boom, we have our MCU Secret Invasion. So yeah, hey, if you guys want to discuss that, let me know, because hey, I'm pretty sure that's how it's going to go. So from this point, we come back to Doctor Strange, Adam Warlock, Silver Surfer, and Doctor Doom, and Pip the Troll back at the Sanctum Sanctorum, where we see them still at the point that they were in issue number 2, From Bad to Worse. So we see them finally making the moment to go ahead and start gathering these forces to attempt to take the Infinity Gauntlet from Thanos. And Adam Warlock tells them that a very delicate plan is at play, and they have to carry it out in an extremely careful fashion if they have any chance of being successful. And Doctor Strange tells them that the power that they need to, acquire, it needs to be tremendous to stop him, and any act of acting prematurely could prove disastrous to them and the entire universe. And Adam Warlock agrees with him, and go ahead and just go ahead and teleport off, probably using Doctor Strange's sling ring to go ahead and teleport to Avengers HQ, where we see them arriving. And the Avengers actually do know Adam Warlock. And if you guys remember, I actually left this out in the last video. So remember I said I was going to try. But the Avengers actually know Adam Warlock. They had actually fought alongside him during Avengers Annual number 7, when Adam Warlock actually had died for real, when Thanos had mortally wounded him and actually acquired the Soul Gem for himself. And it was so confusing how he was brought back. It was through the Soul Stone, but it was in there that he had met Pip and Gamora, where we pick up with him in this story. But yeah, but what we see is that the Avengers are finally informed of the coming threat, that Thanos is the one who's been causing all of this destruction, and they are now a part of this army to stop him. So I guess this point takes place at the very same time that Doctor Strange and his forces actually arrive at Avengers HQ. But the story picks up with Black Widow, where we see her still in New York City, just trying to save as many lives as she can, as helpless as it is, while the world's just going to crap. And we see just the locals just watching her. They're just saying things like she's gonna die, like she's been there for close to 10 minutes. And a woman is asking about her baby, and we see that it's like right out of that Sam Raimi scene when Spider-Man had saved that baby, but we see that she actually saves the baby, and she actually returns the baby safely to her mother. But we see that there is actually another woman up there hanging, and we see that the building actually collapses and Black Widow was unable to save her. And it's just another thing to just show that some of these superheroes that don't have superpowers, or just are extremely skilled and just trying the best that they can, that sometimes their best is just not enough. And Jim Starlin is just trying to tell readers that this is not gonna go the way that you think. So when we come back to Avengers HQ, we see that Doctor Strange and the Avengers and all the forces that they had summoned there are really still trying to carry out Adam Warlock's task that he had given them. We see him still summoning other prominent superheroes that had not been there before. We see Iron Man, Spider-Man, Wolverine, Drax the Destroyer, Fire-Lord, Nova from the New Warriors, Namor the Submariner, and Cloak. We see Cyclops from X-Factor and other superheroes, Scarlet Witch and the Vision who was there before, just coming through to help and lend their forces to stop Thanos. And we see that Doctor Strange still has the portal open for other superheroes to join them. And what we see is that it's actually open for the Incredible Hulk, who at this point is actually refusing to join them. Because at this point, the Hulk was really looked at as a wild card when he had joined the Avengers. And even though he is an honorary member of the team, the Hulk was really looked at as a wild card. You really didn't know how things were going to go whenever he joined the conflict. You didn't know that if he was going to keep it level-headed, Banner was going to be in control, or if he was going to Hulk out. So, the Avengers really didn't trust him at this point. But Iron Man says that the threat that poses the Earth and the universe is something that really can't be considered. They need the Hulk if they would think to have any chance of stopping Thanos. And Hulk says that that'll be enough, and I'll join you guys, and they can talk the particulars later. And what we see is that when all of the Avengers, we finally see all of the superheroes together for the first time. I told you guys it's going to be something great. But what we see is that they're discussing who needs to lead this, army that they just summoned. And we see Doctor Doom, being as arrogant and, self-righteous as he is, says that he should be the one to lead them all, But Captain America and Spider-Man and all the other superheroes is like, you're crazy, Doom, if you think that's going to happen. And they all just agree that Adam Warlock should be the one to lead them all. But from here, we see the next part of their plan really coming into fruition. We see Doctor Strange really opening a portal, and Silver Surfer and Adam Warlock departing from the rest of the Avengers and all of the other superheroes. And we'll find out where they are later in the story. But from this point, the story brings us back to New York City, where we see Moon Knight overlooking, the destruction that has been just happening upon New York City. And what we see is that the Brooklyn Bridge, an oil refinery or something, must have exploded, or just the destruction in general, guys. The Brooklyn Bridge is on fire, and it literally looks like the city is just on fire, and it's going away. Half of New York is going to be destroyed, as Moon Knight tells us, just because of this fire alone. We just see, this is a level of destruction that none of the superheroes can really wrap their heads around. But the story brings us back to Avengers HQ, where we see Cloak from Cloak and Dagger talking to Spider-Man, and we see him really just, having a moment of self-doubt. He really doesn't think that he can stand with the rest of these, superheroes. And Spider-Man tells him that he was summoned just like the rest of them, so there really wouldn't be a reason that they would summon him if they didn't think that Cloak would be useful in stopping Thanos within it. And Spider-Man tells him that he'll be just fine, but he thinks to himself that what they're about to face, it's something that none of them have ever seen at all, any time in any of their superhero, careers, and the odds are against any of them are surviving, but it's something that they all have to do because, it's what heroes do. Now, in this scene, I think it'll give you guys a sense of the scale of this story, all of the characters that'll be involved to try to usurp the power of Thanos with the Infinity Gauntlet. But that brings us back with Quasar and Epoch, where they're actually arriving at an unspecified location, which we had left them last time. We didn't know where they were going. But what we see is that when they arrived there, that Silver Surfer and Adam Warlock actually arrived there too. So this is actually where they went when they had left the rest of the Avengers and Doctor Strange back on Earth. And Epoch basically tells them that they had been waiting for their arrival, and when he says this, a blinding flash of light occurs, and when the light fades away, all of the cosmic entities are there to discuss Thanos with the Infinity Gauntlet. We see Galactus is there, Mistress Love, Sire Hate, a few of the Celestials, Uatu the Watcher is there, Eternity, the actuality or the embodiment of the universe is there, and the Living Tribunal himself are some of those who are all there to discuss Thanos. And what we see is that the Living Tribunal is the one who could like just, end all of this. He is the one that could snap his fingers and just take the gauntlet from Thanos. And him being this powerful, he's like the cosmic judge of the universe. You guys see those three heads on his head? If all three of them agree on the decision, it's when he'll go ahead and, make that judgment, final. But he tells them that Thanos acquiring the 6 Infinity Gems, he had gone through like anyone else would have to do to acquire them. He had destroyed all the life, tricked all the people to acquire them all. And because of this, if Thanos were to usurp the role of Eternity, which is the highest role that he can get because he's like the actuality of the universe, that if Thanos is able to do that, then that's his natural selection. And that's something that, just happened. So there's really no cosmic crime being committed, and because of this, the Living Tribunal basically concludes to that he will not help them stop Thanos. And when he leaves them, Eternity actually leaves as well, and we'll find out why he left. It's actually really screwed up. But Adam Warlock basically tells the rest of the cosmic entities that really doesn't matter. The forces that he has already available to him still will probably be enough of stopping Thanos with the Infinity Gauntlet. And we see that Uatu the Watcher actually jumps in and he tells him that he'll actually be another person that won't be able to intervene with the, conflict with Thanos with the Infinity Gauntlet. Because, the Watchers in their race, their only purpose is to observe and record, so they really can't intervene in the universe's dealings. So we see that Adam Warlock saying, it being sad that Uatu won't be able to help them, he goes ahead and says that they still have enough or sufficient power to execute his plan of attack. And when he said it was his plan, Galactus was triggered. And he's basically saying, like, you expect me to follow someone like you in the battle? I don't know you. You're golden, and I'm not going to listen to you. And Adam Warlock basically calls Galactus a fool. So he's bold. He's bold already for that. But what we see is that Galactus actually blasts Adam Warlock, and it actually looks like he's completely disintegrated. And after this, Galactus just goes on. He's telling the rest of the cosmic entities that they can go and stop Thanos without being distracted by, yammering mortals. That's kind of, okay, whatever, Galactus. But what we see is that a voice actually is on top of Galactus's head, and it tells him, does Galactus, does his judgment always get clouded by his anger with him being, so prominent of a cosmic being? Adam Warlock expected more of him. So we see that he is actually alive. But he tells them that the plan that they need to construct, it needs to be strategic, it needs to be skillful, and it has to be something that, they cannot make mistakes. And we see that Master Order and Lord Chaos say that they actually do know Adam Warlock and they have weighed the options and they choose to join forces with him. And we see that the other cosmic beings that actually cooperate with them. We see that Epoch and Quasar say that they will be two that will be lending their powers with, to help Adam Warlock. We see that the Stranger, the Celestials, Mistress Love and Sire Hate, Kronos, and all of them, they basically say that they will side with Adam Warlock. When Adam Warlock turns to Galactus and he asks him, who will you side with? Galactus basically gives him a dirty look like, oh, dude. So we can just assume that, yes, Galactus will be assisting in the conflict against Thanos. But from this point, the story brings us back to Avengers HQ, where we pick up with She-Hulk and the Vision, and they're just there discussing. She-Hulk is really trying to figure out their odds against Thanos. And she asks Vision, what are their odds against Thanos? And he tells him that they're next to 0. And She-Hulk is confused about this. And she says the Avengers had taken Thanos down a couple of times. And Vision disagrees with her. He says that they took Thanos down, but not without help. And She-Hulk mistakes this as the help being from Captain Marvel and Adam Warlock. And Vision says that no, that the help came from Thanos himself. And all the times that the Avengers had fought him before, and even at the time we had killed Adam Warlock, that Thanos had allowed them to beat him, whether it be subconsciously or unconsciously, he doesn't know. And that the only chance for them to win against Thanos this time is for Thanos to want to be defeated. And She-Hulk tells him that what if Thanos doesn't feel like getting his butt kicked? Vision tells him that the universe is doomed. But while this is happening, holy crap, that's the Beyonder on the screen. Why did they not call this guy up? But what we see is that the other room, what we see is that Iron Man and Doctor Doom are actually about to get into a little scuffle, and Iron Man is basically accusing Doom of, having some other plans of trying to steal the gauntlet for himself and being ablaze with the rest of the humanity. And Doom has a little snarky remark. He says, "That is my way. Like, hey, that's what I do." And Iron Man, he's had it, and he's trying to go in for him. And Thor grabs him, and then Vision tells him that he shouldn't abuse the hospitality that they're giving him. And Captain America comes in the picture, like being the dad of all of the Avengers, and he tells him that I hope Doom's presence doesn't negate his usefulness, and he tells him that the upcoming battle will determine that. And we see that Spider-Man's spider sense goes off, and when that happens, we see that Adam Warlock and Quasar actually return back to Avengers HQ, and he asks what's transpiring there, and the Captain America report, he low-key snitch. He's like, we're having a little domestic dispute, but he tells him that it's energy best saved for fighting Thanos. And Captain America actually asks him when will the conflict actually come, and he tells him that it's in a few minutes. So we're in there, guys. But before they go ahead and send the Avengers to fight Thanos, we see that Adam Warlock is actually looking for Wolverine, and when he's trying to find him, Cyclops says that he saw him on the roof, and Captain America says that the Hulk is up there, because you guys know Hulk and Wolverine at this point, those guys, they thought they weren't cool. They always bang. The first time they fought, or the first time Wolverine showed up, he fought the Hulk. So they think it's some bad news. But Adam Warlock, when Captain America goes to try to stop it, Adam Warlock stops him, and he says that he'll be the one to handle that situation. But from this point, the story brings us back to the Shrine of Mishra's death, where we see Mephisto and Thanos discussing the events that are just now transpiring there. And we see that Mephisto is asking Thanos how long has he been hovering there, and Thanos replies that he'd only been there for a few moments, and we find out that they're actually talking about the Watcher appearing at Mishra's death's shrine to record the coming events. And because of this, Thanos realizes that this means that some people will be coming to try to take the gauntlet from him, and he tells them that they are rushing to Armageddon, so he'll give them their Armageddon. He's going to give them a glorious doomsday, as he says. And he tells Mephisto that the heavens will run red with blood, and at the end of this, Thanos will be triumphant. But when we come back to Avengers HQ, the story brings us back to the Incredible Hulk, where we see him just hanging out on the top of Avengers HQ and really pondering the coming events that'll take place. And what we see is that Wolverine actually joins him. He says that he's out there to get a little bit of fresh air, but the Hulk goes ahead and starts a conversation with him, and he tells him that he didn't expect him to be like the other wimps downstairs. And when Wolverine asks him why is that, he tells him that Wolverine and the Hulk, they had been in a lot of down and dirty scraps, and we had talked about it earlier. And the Hulk tells him that when you fight someone that much, you really get to know them, and through this, he had come to the conclusion that he actually, had mustered a liking for Wolverine. And when Wolverine asks him why is that, Hulk tells him that because both of them are monsters in their own way. And when you think about the ways that they were made and what they were both made to do, he does have a lot of truth to that. But what we see is that Adam Warlock actually arrives on location, and what we find out is that he was actually looking for both Wolverine and the Hulk. And when he talks to them, he tells them that Thanos, the being that they're about to face, his sole goal is the destruction of all life. And because of this, extreme measures may be called in for dealing with him. And Adam Warlock tells them that Wolverine and the Hulk have an outlook on death that the other superheroes don't share, and which is very plausible for him to say, because Hulk and Wolverine, with their extreme healing factors, they have brushes with death numerous times, more times than anyone can count, and so they really, in other words, don't fear it. So Adam Warlock basically, or Hulk and Wolverine, both come to the conclusion that Adam Warlock, if it comes down to it, will they sacrifice themselves for the greater good of the universe? And Adam Warlock says that's a good way of putting it. So they basically got the nail on the head. And the Hulk says that Adam Warlock is a bit of a monster himself. And Adam Warlock remarks back at the Hulk, it's a little fun, but it's also kind of sinister when you think about it. He tells them that they are what the circumstances make of them. And what we see is that Wolverine is starting to notice that it's snowing in May. And so that psychic blast that Thanos had released into the universe earlier and that had derailed the Earth from its orbit, its effects are starting to be felt now. Okay, guys, so this is really it. This is really the final build that we'll see before the conflict takes place, and this is all occurring at the same time. But what we see is that the story brings us back to the Shrine of Mistress Death, where we see Thanos still pleading to Mistress Death, trying to get her to love him, and we see him telling her that his enemies are coming to try to take the gauntlet from him. And he basically asks her, will she stand by his side? And we see that she's basically doing what she kept doing. You know, she curves Thanos, and Thanos tells her that it's as he expected. He deluded himself into ever thinking that she would ever care for him. So it's almost a moment of self-realization for him. But we see that Thanos, you know, he denies this. He says that he will not rule alone and all things are possible for him, even life. And through this, he basically uses all of the stones and he creates a female embodiment that literally looks just like him, which is kind of nasty now that I think about it. And he basically creates her as an image of everything he would love in a woman, and her name is Taraxia the Terrible. And he basically uses this to try to make Mistress Death jealous. You know, he's saying that he no longer has any need for her. She hurt his heart long enough, and now the ship is sailing. But what we see is that, and it's actually kind of sad, like Mistress Death still doesn't care, and you can see the look in Thanos' eyes. He's like, dang, like she really don't care about me. So I can kind of feel it, cause man. But we basically see that he's ready for the cosmic warfare to begin. He's ready for all the superheroes to come and try to stop him, because he's ready to have a good time. But when we come back to Avengers HQ, we see that Adam Warlock is still in the midst of sending the superheroes off, and he's really giving them their final pep talk before they're on their way to go and stop Thanos with the Infinity Gauntlet. And what he tells them is that Doctor Strange is there conjuring magic to send them to the precise location that they'll need to be once the battle starts. And he tells them that each of them has been briefed on their line of attack that they should institute. And he tells them that the lives of all of the combatants there and the universe depends on them following that plan. And he tells them that he had cast a spell on them that would allow all of them to breathe freely in the vacuum of space for the next 60 minutes, which is why you guys will see Thanos in the next video fighting him in their regular, just superhero uniforms and not using any type of astronaut equipment. But he also tells him that Doctor Strange will be one of the people that will stay behind, which is opposed to Avengers Infinity War, where we see Doctor Strange directly in the conflict against Thanos. But in this story, Doctor Strange is basically meant to stay behind to relay the point of view to Adam Warlock from all of their respective points of view, and he's also there to facilitate the evacuation of any combatant too injured against Thanos to continue fighting. And with that, he wishes them good luck, and him and the Silver Surfer, they go ahead and just leave. But immediately, it doesn't take us too long to find out where they had gone. We find out that they had actually, when they had reached the other side of the portal, when Silver Surfer asks them where they are, Adam Warlock replies and tells them that they're a little more than a light year away from Thanos' current position, and he should be off in this direction, as you can see him pointing over there. And he asks Silver Surfer, can he spot Thanos with that far-ranging vision of his? And Silver Surfer has increased depth perception, which he obviously should, being a cosmic entity and being all in space all the time. But when he looks in that direction, he says yes, and that Thanos is looking their way, and that's kind of scary to think about. You have this crazy depth perception, then you look down like a light year away, and you see like this crazy guy just staring back at you, like, I know you're there, dude. It's something kind of scary to think about. But Silver Surfer basically tells Adam Warlock that he is tired of being held as a reserve. His strength is returned, and he's ready to be a part of the coming conflict against Thanos. And Adam Warlock basically tells Silver Surfer that he will be a part of this conflict, but only when the moment is right. And Silver Surfer pleads with him. He's telling him that his powers will, be a very drastic turning point in the conflict against Thanos, along with the Earth superheroes, which he does have a lot of truth to, because Silver Surfer on his own is an extremely powerful character in Marvel Comics. But Adam Warlock basically tells Silver Surfer that he's not comprehending the severity of the situation at hand. And when Silver Surfer says, perhaps not, and there must be something that Adam Warlock knows that Silver Surfer doesn't, Adam Warlock basically levels with Silver Surfer and really the readers, and he tells them that Thanos controls all aspects of time, reality, space, power, the soul, and the mind, and he quite literally commands all that there is. And we come back to Avengers HQ, where Adam Warlock continuously tells Silver Surfer that he is truly invincible, he's utterly omnipotent, and such statements about him aren't grandiose rhetoric, something to hype up the power that he has. They are a reality. Thanos has all 6 Infinity Gems, and he has the power to wipe out the entire universe with the snap of his fingers. The fact that he did have was really mercy. And we see that Adam Warlock tells him that the superheroes that they had mustered together to try to stop Thanos, that the power that they willed collectively really is nothing compared to the full power that Thanos possesses with the might of the Infinity Gauntlet. And with this, he tells them, and really the readers, that all of these superheroes, their purpose for being brought together was because they're sacrificial lambs. They really have no chance of stopping Thanos. And with that, we see that the superheroes are jumping through the portal and they arrive on location at Mistress Death's shrine, where we will see them try to stop Thanos with the Infinity Gauntlet. Whew, guys, we have finally finished issue number 3, Preparations for War, and in the next issue, issue number 4, Conflict on the Far Side of the Galaxy, it will be the moment that we've all been waiting for, you and me, myself, when you'll see all of the Earth superheroes making their final move against Thanos and try to usurp the Infinity Gauntlet from him. I'm so excited for it, guys. Oh, man. Oh, and especially after seeing Infinity War. Good gracious, good God Almighty. But yeah, if you guys like the video, please remember to like, leave a comment of anything that you guys did like in the video, anything that you wanted to see, any questions you have about Marvel, DC, please feel free to let me know. And if you guys really like the video, if you want to see more, please remember to subscribe, and yeah, I'll get these videos out to you guys. But yeah, you guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you later. Goodbye.
Alfred, it's him.